Welcome to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Come on to the theatre.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 60 of the Manx Theatre Podcast with me, Neil Callan. Thank you to everyone who's listened to our previous episodes. If you're brand new to the podcast, welcome along and thanks for joining us. In this podcast, we like to try and keep you up to date with what's going on in theatre on the Isle of Man, chatting to the cast and creatives of upcoming shows to find out a little more about the shows and the people behind them, and also what our Manx-born and bred performers are doing further afield.
Coming up on this week's podcast.
I'm joined by a group of cast members from Ballakermeen High School's upcoming production of Fame School Edition. You can still listen to all of our previous episodes through all the usual podcast outlets and at manxradio.com/podcasts. Whilst you're there, make sure to give us a like and click subscribe or follow or whatever it is you need to do to make sure you never miss an episode. And while you're there, give us 5 stars and a review, and it really helps other people to find the podcast. Now, this is a short episode today. I had hoped to get a few other things together, but I felt it was more important to get this episode out and promote the upcoming Ballakermeen show, which the kids, and I'm sure the teachers, have been working very hard on. Speaking of kids, congratulations to the cast of Centre Stage Productions' School of Rock. The kids were fantastic, as were Alex and Joey, who were on our last episode. Now, you may have noticed on social media posts this week that I've been successful in applying for an Isle of Man Arts Council grant, which will enable me to purchase equipment that will help make the podcast more mobile, and also enable me to continue with the Manx Theatre Legends feature and let me visit those older and former performers who can't make it up to the studios of Manx Radio and carry out the conversations in their own homes. If you want to find out more about Arts Council grants and how you may be eligible for funding for your next project, check out their website at iomarts.com. Now, in the next few episodes, I'll be catching up with the cast of the Service Players production of Clue, based on the 1985 film of the same name and the Cluedo board game. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to chat with Christine Sutcliffe and Lisa Kreisky about their 2025 production of Calendar Girls, and we may even manage to get a chat with the cast of this year's Gaiety pantomime, Dick Whittington. In the meantime, make sure you keep up to date with what's going on between episodes by following Manx Theatre Podcast on both Facebook and Instagram, and at Manx Theatre Pod on Twitter.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast.
Joining me on the podcast today are Holly Callow, Alice Williams, Amber Callan, Zanai Smith, and Imogen Christian. Ladies, welcome along to the podcast.
Hello.
Thank you.
So we're here today because you are all appearing, and some of you starring as well, in Ballakermeen's upcoming production of Fame School Edition.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nodding doesn't work on microphones. Speaking does. Okay. So, Fame, it's based on the movie, and
It's
I think...
not. Yeah.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's not.
Oh, right, okay.
It is. So it's mentioned in the musical about the movie and how the school that's it based on is like made more popular because of the movie, but it's not based on the movie.
Ah, well, there you go. You learn something new every day. So give us an idea. Well, obviously, if it's not based on the movie, then give us a little bit of an idea about what the story of the show is.
So the story is a lot of little stories pieced together. So there are 3 different groups: the actors, the dancers, and the musicians. And so I'm playing one of the actors. I'm playing Nick Piazza, and she is already an actress and wants to be a real actress and not just like somebody who's just like seen on TV and adverts. And she has an argument with this girl called Serena, and they end up making friends at the end, but there's a lot of like squabbles and stuff. And Alice, if you want to tell us about the musicians.
Well, the musicians are like a small group of people, and we have the 3 kind of principals, and there's me who plays Shlomo, and then there's Zanai who plays
Goody,
and then there's Lila who plays Lamb Chops, and we form a band at the beginning, and then throughout we meet Scarlett who plays Carmen, and Carmen is one of the dancers, and she kind of wants to become part of the band, and she wants to, write music with Shlomo, and eventually she becomes part of the band, but they have their ups and downs, and it does get resolved, but then it doesn't, and then she kind of disappears at the end and leaves school, and it's all a bit sad, but then she comes back, so it's all okay.
And so you're part of the musicians then. Does this mean that you're playing instruments in the show?
Yes, well, Lila, who is Lamb Chops, she is a drummer. Zanai, who plays
The trumpet.
the trumpet, and she plays Goody. And I am Shlomo, and I play the piano.
And you're actually playing these instruments during the show?
No.
No. Well, Lamb Chops has like drumsticks everywhere she goes,
Right.
and one scene,
One scene I carry on the
Summer's
piano.
playing the piano or
But
keys.
I'm not actually playing.
Not a grand piano.
No,
just
it's just like a little
keyboard.
one.
Yeah. Okay, and obviously with the dances then, is this where Amber and Imogen, you come in?
Yeah, so I'm a dancer. The storyline kind of with the dancers is Tyrone and Iris, who I think meet through dancing.
Yeah.
So Tyrone, who's played by Joey, and Iris, who's played by Anna, become really close. And Iris starts to support Tyrone, like, academically, I guess. To the point where he's, like, producing identical papers to Iris. But we later find out that Tyrone has trouble with reading, and he eventually gets help from Miss Sherman. And then there's Carmen, who Alice spoke about earlier. She's kind of like determined to be a big star and famous and well known. And then there's also Mabel, who is played by Rosie. I say Mabel is a dancer that struggles with her weight and is put on diets by the dance teacher, Miss Bell, and in the end she kind of ends up contemplating changing her major.
So Imogen, which group are you in then? Are you a dancer or are you a...
I'm one of the musicians.
Right, you're with the musicians, right?
Yes.
We really just come up, all musicians come up only once in the show,
Right.
really, like together.
Yeah. So the sort of the story of the show then, it just kind of covers a year or so in the like an academic year.
3 years?
3
Yes.
years, right?
Yes.
Oh, 3 years. Oh, great.
You have songs to break it up. Like,
Yeah.
There's like
You'll
senior
know.
year, junior year,
Sophomore, senior,
Yeah,
junior.
that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you get lots of stories that over the 3 years of the school. So you see them
Yeah.
develop and change, and the stories and the relationships, I guess, grow throughout the story. Okay, great. Also, then, so this is the school's version. So it's a shorter version of the main show. So there's a few songs gone, and it's sort of condensed down to a one act. Is it?
Yeah.
So how long does it run?
Roughly about 1 hour.
Roughly about an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What size cast is there? How many people are in it?
There's quite a lot.
There's
Yeah,
quite a
there's
lot.
like
quite a
A
lot.
lot have
40,
dropped out, but a lot have stayed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have about 6 or 7 principals, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's quite a big ensemble.
Yeah. Probably about 30, I'd say.
30.
Yeah.
And are they all across the school? Or
Yeah,
is it...
it's from year 8 to sixth form
12,
now.
yeah.
Yes, because you started last year with
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah.
year 7s would be still at primary school then last year.
Yeah.
Would have started. Right, so there's a wide range then through the whole school. That's right, fantastic. Now, what about the directing team? Who's cracking the whip at the front?
Probably Mr. Craig and Miss Molyneux and Miss Crosley.
And Miss Crossley. Right,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So who's the strictest? Who's the hardest going?
All of them.
Depends.
All of
Yeah,
them.
all of them. To be
Depends on the
honest.
day. Depends on the day.
Yeah, really depends.
Do they have their different areas? So obviously
Yeah.
Mr. Craig is
Yeah.
more
Mr.
acting.
Craig is doing acting.
Yeah.
Miss
Miss
Molyneux
Molyneux.
is doing choreography, and Miss Crossley is doing the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So have you been enjoying the different parts of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a mix of everything
Yeah.
in the show.
Has it challenged you over the term of it as well? So that-
Sometimes,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
So some of the dance routines you thought you're never going to get this, and you've surprised yourself. Suddenly, actually know.
Yeah. Some of it is just really fast, so you have to keep up
Yeah.
and know when to go where.
And then there's that energy into it as well, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
You're thinking
Always
you-
got to smile.
yeah,
always.
got to smile and got to go full out as well. You can't be giving it half. You got to go full on. So this is probably the first show in a few years because of lockdowns and other things. So I mean, there is quite a long history of really well known Ballakermeen shows, and they've always been of a really high standard. So no pressure here, ladies. So look, some of the ones we've in the past. There's been Blood Brothers and Guys and Dolls. There was Return to Forbidden Planet, West Side Story, High School Musical, Lion King, a chorus line which starred Joe Locke. Now part of the Marvel universe, and also there was Honk a few years ago as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you done any of those other shows, or is this the first show that's been on?
So,
Oh, Curtain Up.
yeah.
Yes.
Curtain Up was the last one, and I just missed the auditions for it. So I'm the oldest out of all of us. I'm in year 11 now.
Yeah.
I just missed the auditions for that, so I went to go watch it when I was in year 8. So that was the last show, so I only just got to see it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that made you want to do the next one when it came along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to wait a long time.
I know Amber's been desperate to do a Ballakermeen show. So
Ever since I joined Ballakermeen.
yeah.
Same here. It's so well known.
Yeah.
Like all schools across the island that do shows, they're all well known, but Ballakermeen is like taking it to a different level with their shows.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's lots of people who've been through the Ballakermeen shows that are now regulars at the Gaiety stage with the Manx Operatic and Douglas Corey Union and the other societies there. So it's a good starting ground for everyone. Gives them a good footing. So is this something that you all want to do going forward in the future?
Definitely.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Do you see yourself sort of going to the different societies and then maybe even drama school or something like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Good. Okay. So it's going to be here then at Ballakermeen in the Studio Theatre. And it's on from Tuesday the 12th of November through to Friday the 15th of November. And there's something special happening on the 15th, isn't there, on the Friday night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the Friday night, we've got the whole audience going to be in 80s fancy dress, so like neon and leg warmers and headbands and everything. And then we also are doing a bucket for Macmillan at the end, so any donations that people have will go towards it. And it's one of our school charities, so it's just a really good thing to raise money for.
Excellent. So is there a prize for the best costume?
We should do that.
should do
We
that.
should
Yeah.
definitely do that.
Yeah,
Sure, we could sort that out.
Everyone to go all out.
Yeah.
That gives me an incentive to go all out on the last night. Which I'm sure Amber's going to love. So tickets are £5 for adults, £2.50 for kids and OAPs.
Yeah.
Yep, great. Okay. So one other thing we like to do. So when way back in 2020, just after the first big lockdown, we set up the Manx Theatre playlist. Now this is our Spotify playlist, which is our ultimate musical theatre playlist, and we get lots of people to add songs into it. So Neil King, who was my co-presenter at the time, we each started the list off with 10 songs each because a playlist with 2 songs is very quick and it's very, very boring. So we each put 10 songs in to get it going. And then every person who's come on the podcast since then has added a song on. So the list now, we're at well over 100 songs now. We're up to 7 hours or more of tunes in there. Now, these are all songs that mean something special to us, or they've come from a show that we've been in, or just a song that we really like. So I think you've decided to go for a team effort. So which song would you like to add to the playlist?
We're going to do Fame.
Yeah.
It's just like an iconic song from the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the reason, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Well, what more reason do you need than that? Right. Okay. So Holly, Alice, Amber, Zanai, and Imogen, thank you for joining me today on the Manx Theatre podcast. We wish you and everyone involved with Fame all the very, very best for the show. And I'll hope to see you again in the future for another interview.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to the Manx Theatre podcast with Neil Callan.
Applications for the next Young Singer of Man competition in January 2025 are still open. This competition is open to anyone aged 7 to 18 as of the 25th of January 2025. There is no entry form, and the winners will leave with a gorgeous trophy and a £150 cash prize. Application forms are available at erinartscentre.com/YSOM, and the closing date for entries is Friday the 13th of December. Applications are also open for entries into the Madfa Easter Festival, and they're looking for full-length and one-act plays to make it their best week of theatre yet. 2025 is a particularly special year as it will mark their 75th anniversary of hosting festivals on the Isle of Man. They would like to make the week very special and are particularly keen to see productions that will celebrate the diversity of theatre across its many genres, from comedy to tragedy and everything in between. You can find the application form and more information at madfa.im. That's MADF.im. The closing date for entries is Sunday, the 1st of December 2024. Well, with that, we bring episode 60 to a close. Thanks once again for Holly, Alice, Zanai, Amber and Imogen for joining me on the podcast, and we wish them and everyone involved with Fame all the very best for their run. Don't forget that the audience are encouraged to get dressed up in 80s gear for the final performance on Friday the 15th of November. Tickets are £5 for adults and £2.50 for kids and senior citizens and are available from the Studio Theatre website at studiotheatre.im. Don't forget to check out the Spotify playlist by searching for Manx Theatre Podcast, and that's all one word. There's over 100 tracks on there now, and over 7 hours of show tunes to satisfy your musical theatre needs. If you have any events that you'd like to talk about or promote in a future episode, you can contact me through the social media accounts or by email to manxtheatrepodcast@gmail.com. All that remains is to say thanks for listening, and I hope you join me again next time. I've been Neil Callan, and you've been listening to the Manx Theatre Podcast. Goodbye.
The Manx Theatre Podcast, taking a look behind the scenes of Manx Theatre.
And happier than actors alive for me.